Flooded. Buffy's basement gets flooded because the writers couldn't think of anything actually interesting.
We open with a newly resurrected Buffy walking through her basement, and she finds a leaky pipe, and she starts to fix it when she realizes that she is in a Tom and Jerry cartoon. And it was so over the top, I assumed it was going to be a dream, but it was not.
I wish this entire episode had been a dream.
We might disagree on this one.
Oh, okay.
No, see, that's a way to get people to say, oh, I'm going to keep watching, even though I thought this one was really dumb, too.
Okay. Later, the gang exchanges jokes, and Buffy vacantly stares at the water coming out of the kitchen faucet, the same way I vacantly stare at the screen when I'm watching an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
But how would that happen? Because she would have virtually no water pressure.
Well, did they shut off the water going to the basement pipes? Is it still going to the rest of the house?
Every pipe in that basement burst at the same time. They would be getting no water anywhere else in that house.
Yeah, but it's been some time. They called the plumber and everything.
Yeah, but we see later that the basement is still flooded. They didn't even drain it.
Yeah, but that's because they're not smart. See, it all makes sense.
No, it doesn't. Let's keep going.
Xander and the plumber emerge from the basement, and the plumber says the entire plumbing system is going to have to be replaced.
Which I doubted, but it's TV land, so whatever.
My note said it was a very implausible development. The characters despair at the bill and show Buffy the rest of the bills, informing her that she is running out of money, which makes sense because the only ones that seem to have jobs are Xander sometimes, and I guess Anya with the magic shop.
And they realize they've been basically leeching off of Joyce's life insurance up until that point.
Buffy assures them she will take care of it, but doesn't say how, and then Anya suggests Buffy charge for slaying vampires, but doesn't say how.
And when everyone tells Anya how stupid that is, including Xander, she storms out. And Willow, who has not had the greatest track record with her relationships either, feels the need to get a quick jab in there anyway.
Oh, what does she say?
I don't remember, but I remember saying, what a bitch.
Okay.
You're throwing away a gold mine.
Xander follows Anya, who claims that he doesn't support her, using his unwillingness to announce their engagement as evidence.
Luckily, he manages to calm her down. Oh wait, no he doesn't. She gets pissed and walks away.
Yeah, she realizes he's just talking her down to continue stalling.
Just like the writers are stalling in progressing this plotline.
Yeah, this is a subplot I am not interested in whatsoever.
Quit reading directly from my wrap-up. Buffy goes to the bank to take out a loan, and the loan officer informs her that she has no collateral of value and no job, so it's not looking good.
So even if she did get a loan, how was she going to pay it off?
That was my next question. Why doesn't she get a job?
Yeah, good question.
Well, is she still in school?
No, because she just got brought back to life.
Oh, yeah. Wait, but the buffy-bot was still around, so people didn't know that Buffy was dead. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. Explain in the comments.
I did like the fact that the guy made a little comment about how the property values in Sunnydale don't increase for some reason, which was a nice tongue-in-cheek admittance to all the shit that goes on. But aren't they in Sunnydale right now? Wouldn't that guy personally have experienced a bunch of shit, including the demon biker gang that trashed the entire town last week? I'm surprised his bank is even standing. And to illustrate that point, and I pause as I'm watching and taking notes, so this legit falls right into place. At that moment, a street shark demon smashes into the bank and starts throwing people around. Oh, hang on, I spilled my tea. I'm so pissed off. Hang on.
And while Buffy fights the street shark, some unidentified hands start taking money from the tills. A guard tries to help, and when the street shark throws Buffy at him, she tells the guard that guns are never helpful, which was absolutely ridiculous. And then the demon ends up running off when someone else fires a gun, showing that they are never helpful.
Then Buffy kind of half-jokes / assumes that because she helped, she's now going to get a loan. But thankfully, the guy still turns her down. But I wasn't sure that was going to happen because we're watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Later in the magic shop training room, Buffy informs Willow what happened, and Willow notes that Buffy is mad and says it's a good thing.
Because she hasn't been displaying emotion as much as Willow thinks she should be.
So Willow tries to make Buffy even angrier. What a good friend.
She could tell her that there's still 2 seasons left of the show.
In the main room of the shop, Anya tries to convince Xander to tell Tara and Dawn that they are engaged, but Xander still holds back.
How interesting.
Dawn complains about them treating her like she's too young to do demon research.
And at first I thought that was going to be a trick, kind of a reverse psychology thing to get her to help, but she legit wants to help.
When Buffy walks in, Dawn says she thinks she's found the street shark, and maybe she should be the one looking things up if she finds them right away like she just did.
At that moment, Giles appears, and there's a big dramatic moment of hugging, meaning his big dramatic departure last episode is now effectively meaningless.
Oh, that was 3 episodes ago.
It all blends together.
Giles and Buffy go to the training room.
Neglecting to turn on any lights.
It costs money. Remember, she's trying to save money. Oh wait, that's not her house.
Yeah, this is Anya's shop. Anya's got her shit together.
Giles says that when he was in England, he met with the Watchers Council and hung out with some old friends. But he doesn't work for the council anymore, and his Slayer was supposedly dead, and he didn't seem to like them, so I wondered what that was about. But we don't find out.
They go back to the main room, and Giles sees the picture of the street shark and immediately is able to identify what it is and how it operates, saying it acts as a mercenary, so they wonder who hired it.
And we see the street shark go to the people who hired it, who turn out to be 3 annoying nerds, including Jonathan, who we've seen off and on throughout the years, Warren, who made the Buffy android, and some other guy, who turns out to be the brother of the guy who created the Hellhounds in the prom. Remember that episode? I don't.
You were paying way more attention than I was. I only recognized Jonathan. And they're sitting in a basement with a bunch of money from the banks, while a video game that looks like a GoldenEye ripoff is playing itself behind them. And this was a perfect opportunity to stick in that GoldenEye sound effect that's been in about 50 episodes, but they don't do it the whole time.
The street shark tells them it wants the Slayer's head and says he will kill them because they haven't paid up. And they say they'll give him whatever he wants if he doesn't kill them. And I had some questions. What was their deal exactly? It seemed very ambiguous. I get that they wanted him to cause a distraction so they could steal money, but what was he supposed to get out of it? And it didn't help that the scene went back and forth between them seeming to come to an agreement and then the street shark threatening to kill them all over again.
I have some questions as well. If these guys have access to all of the world-altering magic and technology and whatnot, including what Jonathan did in that one episode, why don't they just magic a bunch of money to themselves? Why go through this whole demon bargaining thing? Going further, why do they even need money in the first place if they can use magic to bypass that necessity entirely?
Good questions. And the scene ends with them agreeing to kill the Slayer for the street shark. As Buffy helps Giles get the couch ready to sleep on, she mentions their money problems and says she was feeling overwhelmed and that she seems to be scaring everyone else.
So we're falling back into the self-wallowing pity that we've become so used to, right? The 3 nerds are discussing how they can kill Buffy, but they ultimately decide not to do it, dropping a few hundred stereotypes while they're at it.
And we get a flashback showing that their team goal was to take over Sunnydale.
There, so they answered your question.
No, but I mean, what was the deal with the street shark in the bank? What were they supposed to pay him? After they agree not to kill Buffy, Warren goes to talk to the street shark away from the other 2 and gives it Buffy's address. And when it leaves, the others ask Warren how he made it leave, and he makes a dumb Jedi mind trick joke, which doesn't answer the question. The entire scene was very annoying.
I think you need to change the word scene to episode.
Maybe show.
Yeah. Can't wait for that new season coming out. Back at the house, Giles wants to know more about Willow's resurrection spell, and she thinks he'll be impressed, but instead he rips her apart for risking so much.
Calling her
a stupid girl.
She claims, "I did what I had to do and what no one else could do," which falls very much in the self-centered approach we saw from everybody in that episode. And she keeps congratulating herself, literally calling herself amazing.
Giles says things could have gone very wrong and she could have killed them all or even destroyed the world, and says she was lucky. And she says,
I'm very powerful, and maybe it's not such a good idea for you to piss me off.
What a bitch.
And she continues her mindset from the resurrection episode by just demanding that Giles be happy that Buffy is back.
But Giles says they don't actually know what happened yet, and he's not convinced that Buffy is okay. And outside, it turns out that Buffy overheard the argument, and so did Spike, because the writers had to get him in there somehow.
So Buffy spills her guts about how she feels.
She says she's tired of pretending to be okay. Dawn comes downstairs in the middle of the night to find that Giles also can't sleep, and suddenly, the knob to the front door starts rattling. And instead of doing something, they just stand there until the street shark busts in.
And that knob looked like an interior doorknob. It didn't look very secure.
I didn't think about that, but you're right. Buffy shows up and bemoans the destruction of the house as they fight.
So she drags him down to the basement, which I was incredulous to see was still full of knee-high water. It has been that way this entire time. Why the f*** has it not been drained? There are no pipes still actively leaking. How many days has it been? Were they just going to leave it like that until they got a loan?
Yes.
What the hell's wrong with these people?
And she uses a pipe to beat the demon to death, like a true hero.
And she'll probably leave it down there because she's not going to get rid of the water. Why would she get rid of a dead body?
I have that in my wrap-up too. All right.
I can read you like a poorly written book.
We cut back to the nerds, who are happy about how things turned out, and they fantasize about hypnotizing Buffy and forcing her to have sex with them.
Yeah, like I said, hundreds of stereotypes.
And speaking of stereotypes, we have a Big Bang Theory level of stupid joke when Andrew starts talking about wormholes. Did I say that his name was Andrew?
No, you did not.
I don't think we said that his name was Andrew. The third guy's name is Andrew.
And this whole scene indicates that these idiots will be a recurring thing in the show from now on, which I was not happy about.
Yeah, I told you the show gets good eventually. At the Summers residence, Buffy learns how much more money she will need to make repairs on the house.
And Xander, who works in construction, has apparently been trying to put together a coffee table for 4 hours. I understand it is cheap construction, but you can still do it.
And Buffy bemoans the fact that she killed the street shark before finding out who hired him. Willow says that she could do a locator spell, but a look from Giles shuts her down.
Buffy laments to Giles that she, quote, can't do this, and he reassures her that she can, alongside sappy music. But no one ever explains how they're going to do this. Is Giles straight up offering to give her money? What is he going to do for an income now that Anya runs the shop?
Good question. I hope he ends up working for her. And I mean that legit, because that could be funny.
Yeah, that would be good. And to shore up this less than good episode, that's my nice way of saying it, we finish with a phone call from Angel, and Buffy immediately leaves to go see him, and that's the end of the episode.
I give the next episode an F. Flooded. Overall?
This episode did everything I hoped it would not do, and then some. Xander and Anya both have jobs. They're working and saving for themselves. That makes sense. Do Willow and Tara have jobs? Because they were serving as Dawn's primary caregivers. So shouldn't they also have been bringing in some kind of money? They were just living off of Joyce's life insurance this entire time, knowing that it was constantly dwindling? And what if Buffy had not been resurrected? That money still would have run out. Would they have just shrugged their shoulders and moved on to mooching off the next person while the house foreclosed and Dawn was taken away by foster care? Why can't they magic money? They're both witches. Why can't they fix the house? I can bring someone back to life with the help of the Egyptian gods, but I can't fix a leaking pipe. So even if we didn't have the Looney Tunes flood at the beginning of the episode, money would have run out regardless, and they would have had to have this conversation at some point anyway. Speaking of Willow, why has Willow immediately regressed back to the bumbling, insecure, nervous Willow when, in the Resurrection episode, she was the complete opposite? Huge letdown. Why is Jonathan continuing to be a dumbass after all of the supposed emotional growth he made in past episodes? I guess the writers must have missed that part. Buffy has also regressed back to helpless, overwhelmed girl who keeps lamenting to Giles, because he's back now, until he gives her the pep talk and eventually solves the problem for her. And in this case, after Angel calls, Buffy straight up leaves, not resolving anything, and leaving any and all remaining problems to everybody else. And by everybody else, I mean Giles. I'm so glad we're back. I would not be surprised if Giles is somehow forced to financially fix everything himself, because he's enabling everybody except Willow. And is he going to stick around from this point forward? Because this episode didn't make it seem like a guest spot. For his character development, I would like to see him finally get fed up with having to solve everybody else's problems and saying, I'm leaving on my own, and just not coming back. Telling them to grow the f*** up. And if he can give Willow the hard talk, why can't he give Buffy the hard talk? If there is a rift between Willow and Giles, and it simmers for a long time, that could be interesting when it finally erupts. That was really the only part of this episode that interested me at all. Although Willow being this power-hungry, cocky bitch is the opposite of where I thought her character would go. This episode has done exactly what past seasons have done. start to move in a new and refreshing direction, only to take 8 steps backwards after a couple of episodes. So I assume we'll putter around for 19-20 episodes before starting to take things seriously again in the last 3, telling us that these things have always been important. I gave this one an F+.
I didn't go quite that low. I gave it a D+. I didn't think this episode was necessarily especially bad in itself. It was more that it felt so pointless. Xander and Anya are still spinning their wheels, and if I've learned anything about this show up to this point, it's that we'll get the same scenes for the next 12 episodes, just like you're saying about all the other stuff. It seems like they're treating Spike as a more serious character, which could go either way, but he hasn't done anything yet in this season, so we'll see what happens with that, if anything does. We had a lame, generic-ass demon for Buffy to fight, and they tried to make it seem dangerous by emphasizing how strong it was, but then Buffy defeated it pretty easily. And like you said, what does she do with its body? Is it still down there? We had no real advancement for Buffy, other than her acting relatively normal around everyone. After the revelation at the end of last episode that she wasn't in a hell dimension, it's disappointing to get such an uninteresting episode for her. And now, it sounds like we might get Angel in the next episode. I really hope we don't. Keep him in his own show. I don't want any of that shit around here. Things are bad enough already.
Yeah, bring back what we all want, which is Riley.
Okay, I guess things could be worse. I don't know who's worse. Giles' interactions with Willow, I also thought were definitely the high point of the episode. It's good to see her actually getting called out on her behavior, but like you said, Giles is always so lenient with Buffy, and all of these characters have been irresponsible for pretty much the entire run of the show so far. So it feels weird for Giles to all of a sudden be very stern about something. But I do look forward to more clashes between them in the future, which I assume is what they're suggesting because this show isn't exactly subtle. But other than that, the only real thing of note in this episode was that we now know that a really annoying group of nerds is doing something.
So are they the big threat of the season now? Is that where we are?
I guess we'll find out. In a sense, I appreciate the realism behind the idea that these people that can do supernatural and super technological things would just try to take advantage of that for their own benefit. But they mostly tried to play it for laughs, and like you were saying, there were things about it that didn't make sense. And the humor mostly not only fell flat, but was really annoying, like Xander level annoying. So I am intrigued to see where things go with Buffy and with Giles and Willow, but I'm already getting tired of this season dragging things out and we're only 4 episodes in. So I really hope, and I always say this, but I really hope it picks up soon.
I mean, if we were not actively talking about every episode of the show for this channel, I would have stopped watching a long time ago.
So would I. So join us for the next episode. I'm sure it'll be great.